Hi there YouTube, this is Daniel back again with another YouTube video, and this time I'm gonna make a review of a book called FATALE, and this is the first in a series of 2 hardcovers or 5 trade paperbacks, and it's a response or sort of response to a request made by another YouTuber named Rez. And she asked me if I would consider making a review of this book whenever I found time for it. And this is my response. It's written by Ed Brubaker and drawn by Sean Phillips. They have collaborated several times before this on titles such as Criminal, Scene of the Crime, but Sean Phillips only did inks for that one, and MacLeod did the artwork. And they have also collaborated on a title called Sleeper for Vertigo, and then Incognito, The Fade Out, and most recently, I think they won the Eisner Award this summer for The Fade Out, actually, and it's being released now this week in an oversized hardcover, which collects the entire series, the entire 12-issue series. But that's neither here or there. They are also working on Kill or Be Killed, most recent collaboration, and it's still ongoing though. And I would like to call them the dynamic duo of comics, just because how well their collaborations work, in my opinion. This book, this deluxe oversized hardcover, the first one of 2, it collects issues or 2 story arcs. The first story arc, Death Chases Me, and the second story arc is called The Devil's Business. And these 2 story arcs comprise the first 10 issues of the entire series. Originally it was planned as a 12-issue limited series, but later in the run it was expanded to become this 24-issue series it is today. Let's flip the camera and I'll just show you some artwork and talk to you about the story. So here we have the cover for this deluxe edition, and I do like this cover a lot, and I think that it's a piece of art by itself. And the second cover for the second oversized hardcover is also really beautiful, but just a different color palette. And just flipping through the front of the book, we have here we have the credits for the book and people who took part, and then a short little contents or table of contents, and an introduction by Megan Abbott. I think she might have been the editor for the book. And then we're thrown into the first story arc. And we start off at the funeral of Dominic H. Rains, who is a writer, and he was a newspaper writer as well, before writing mystery novels. And attending this funeral is his godson, Nicholas Lash. And at the end of the funeral, a woman named Josephine approached, and it turns out that she, or as she says it, her grandmother knew Dominic back in the 50s. And later on, after this, Nicholas goes back to the old house and Dominic left behind, and just goes around aimlessly, not looking for anything in particular, but he finds an unpublished manuscript by Dominic. And later it turns out that
this is probably the first novel Dominic ever wrote, and he's intrigued that he never published it. And later it turns out that it detailed Dominic's life back in the 50s. Quickly, the story changes pace, and we're thrown into the action. And just a few pages after, it changes pace again, and we are thrown back into the 1950s to explore the relationship between Josephine and Dominic, and what role a corrupt cop named Walter Booker had to these two. And Josephine is basically the femme fatale of the story, and she seems to be mortal, and men who cross her path really just becomes mesmerized by her and can't really control themselves, basically, and just she seemed to have no control over this ability or curse, or how you look at it. It could be a curse, it could be a power, but she seems to have no control over this. And throughout the book, Jo struggles to control and understand her ability or the effect she has on men. And she is also pursued by this fanatical and violent cult. And this cult, who worships some sort of cosmic god, here's where the Lovecraftian themes come in. They are a constant threat throughout the decades of the book, or the decades of the story. And it's interesting to me how the cult is portrayed. Here in the 1950s, it basically looks like some sort of secret fraternity, secret society, where they wear these red robes, walk around in catacombs, having secret meetings, doing occult stuff. In the 70s, this violent cult takes the shape of this Methodist church, and we are basically left to ask if they basically modeled this cult, or the shape of this cult, after the Manson family, because to me it's really similar to what little I know about that stuff. But it's really interesting to me how they use certain era and shape the cult after that, or vice versa. And the narrative basically jumps back and forth between different time periods and points of view. Mostly we just follow Jo and some of the men entranced by her. I really do like the artwork in this book, which I find very fitting to the genre, and at times the art is a bit loose or scratchy. I don't know how to describe it, but I don't really mind at all. The character designs looked really kind of realistic, as you can see, and I really do like the way Sean Phillips uses shadow in a very effective way that makes the characters really look mysterious, and it also helps set the tone and the mood of the story. I'll see if I can find some other areas where I can show you some of the work he does here with shadows. He just doesn't splash a page with shadow just because, but he really have a good feel to when and where it will be most effective. The coloring is really good as well. It's a bit muted, but I think it just fits the story in a very good way, and I just love the artwork. So here we have the back of the book, where we have some of the extras and more beautiful artwork by Sean Phillips. And at first we have this beautiful cover gallery, and each cover for each issue is shown here, and we have an introduction by Sean Phillips here, which is really nice as well. And each cover is just a piece of artwork, in my opinion. I wish I could have some of these as a print to hang on my wall. They are really something, in my opinion. And here we have the FATALE trailer, and apparently they like to introduce a series in this fashion. They make a short 2 or 3 page trailer which showcase some of the art and help set the mood and set the tempo of the story, helps set the story and just the tone of what they're trying to say, and try to manage some expectations that people might have. And I really do like this type of solicitation, and it's just a nice touch that they included that into the back of the book. And here we have some essays, 2 essays, one about H.P. Lovecraft and one about Edgar Allan Poe. And there is a short introduction to these by Ed Brubaker, and they aren't really required reading, so to say, but they are really interesting and I do like to read them. And we have this beautiful art by Sean Phillips as well. And more beautiful artwork. More beautiful artwork, and process art is always nice to see, and initial sketches and stuff like that. Apparently they had trouble deciding what font to use for the title, and they later went with this one, and it's just nice to see the thought process behind a story like this. And more initial artwork, and a afterword by Ed Brubaker as well, and some biographies at the end of the book.
So my final thoughts of this book is just both art and the writing is just great, in my opinion. I do find the story really intriguing, and I like the twist with horror splashed into this noir setting, and I just quickly just want to read more of the story. I had real trouble just putting the book down. I just wanted to keep reading, but I felt I had to just let it sink in a couple of times, and I find that the journey Josephine goes through throughout the series, or throughout these 2 story arcs, I think she grows as a character, and she realizes that she can actually control her ability somewhat to her advantage now, and I really like the how she actually grows as a character and becomes more and more independent somewhat. And I think, as I said, the artwork, I really do like the artwork in this book, and I think it just helps set a mysterious tone and really helps set the mood of the story as well. If you like horror comics, I think this might be for you. And if you like crime noir, this is definitely a book for you. So a fan of either genres basically, I think would like this type of book, or this book in particular. If you are interested in buying it, there are also trades which are cheaper. But to me, this edition is really beautiful and really great to have. So I urge you to buy this book. So, as always, I want to thank you for watching this review video of Fatale. And if you found this video somewhat helpful in deciding if you want to read this book or not, and if you have read this book, or if you have any more questions about this book or the series, just leave me a comment down below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And again, thanks for watching. Bye bye.